Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Depends where you are now. Happy to see all you here. And I already see familiar names. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Obiidykhata, Product Marketing Manager of CloudLinux OS products. Many of you knows me since the beta program. And I'm happy to see a lot of beta testers here as well. Today, I'll moderate our conversation, and our VP of Hosting Products, Dennis Kittrell from sunny Spain, will present you the demo and all the updates we have for you. Hi, Dennis. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking, Katya.
Good. Also on the background, there is a team of amazing developers that are getting ready to all your technical questions. So don't hesitate to ask them during the webinar, and afterwards we will answer all of them. We're going to wait a couple more minutes for other people to join, and while we're waiting, we have a couple questions highlighted for you in the Zoom panel in the poll section. Please take a moment to answer the questions about your existing WordPress offering, like do you already offer WordPress specific hosting, and if yes, how do you prefer to sell performance tools? All your answers appreciated. Thank you for your answers. And probably let's jump into it. We have a pack of updates for you today in agenda, and we're gonna talk about why we focus on WordPress hosting and how AccelerateWP enhances it. Then we will look back from beta to production ready path and tell you what we have learned. We also will watch the live demonstration of AccelerateWP work and also tell you what to expect actually next from us. By the end, we will answer all your questions, as I mentioned. And also this webinar is recorded, so you all will receive the recording by email. Dennis, would you like to start and tell why we're all actually here and why you think that AccelerateWP can enhance existing WordPress plans of our clients?
I would. Thank you, Katya. So thanks everyone for joining today. We're really excited that you're here and that everybody is excited as we are about this product and that the fact that it's ready now for production. So you may know the story. Some of you may have seen Igor's presentation at one of the events. You may have been following along our press releases and blog posts. I'm just going to give you a short overview. Why WordPress performance? Why did we go down this road? Why did we build what we've built? I don't think it's a secret to anybody on this call that WordPress is the dominant force in the CMS market. We have a lot of data that shows that. You probably do too. That means it's a big opportunity. It's an opportunity to improve the experience for WordPress site administrators, for agencies, for anyone who's building websites or building a business on WordPress. There are some underserved needs in terms of performance tools. And most of that is around how the tools are advised, how they're installed and deployed. And we believe very strongly, especially now with seeing the success of the beta program and the happiness of our customers, we have a lot of reason to believe that the automation and automated deployment of these tools is really where the opportunity is. So what is a better way to solve WordPress performance issues? This is the question that we asked ourselves 2 years ago when we started on this journey. And what are hosting providers doing today to solve their WordPress customers' performance issues? When they need to troubleshoot performance, how do they solve it? So we've noticed that, or we've learned that there's really two paths that they take. The first one is their support teams, their customer-facing teams. They have a playbook or a guideline of what to advise customers to do when they run into performance issues. And that's usually recommending free plugins, paid plugins, just sending them externally and saying, hey, go take your chances. But that also means that somebody has to install it. They have to do this trial and error method of, did it work? What are my customers seeing? Am I seeing speed performance improvements, but my customers or my website visitors aren't? So there are many big challenges with that. The second path that we've seen, that we've heard that hosters take, and you guys know this better than we do, is that they partner with third-party providers that are offering a paid solution. Now, that does give some revenue. It does often work, especially with some of these premium providers. But the truth is, it still requires installation, troubleshooting, testing. And in both cases, it's a one-size-fits-all assumption, which is rarely the case. So a lot of these websites, every website is different. A lot of them have different demographics who are visiting the website. They're distributed differently. They have different plugins. They have different challenges. Sometimes they have malware. Every site is different, and we aim to build a data-driven approach to solving the performance woes of every WordPress website. So that's really what we've built. That's a better way to solve WordPress performance issues, and that's by analyzing the data that we have access to as CloudLinux, using PHP Xray, and generating prescriptive advice that solves the problems specific to each website. And that's really what we've built, and that's what everybody's excited about. So in the last 2 years, we've been iterating, we've been ideating, we've been building and testing and getting feedback. We spent 8 months in a beta program so far. We've had over 100 beta testers on 500 different CloudLinux servers. 2,000 websites have seen advice, and over 1,000 websites are actively using Accelerate WordPress, meaning that they've accepted some of that advice. So what is Accelerate WordPress and what does it include? So I mentioned PHP Xray. I assume that some of you are familiar with that, maybe quite a bit of you. PHP Xray is included with CloudLinux OS Pro, and it allows us to analyze the performance and the data that from these websites in real time, continuously. And that's something that allows us to generate the prescriptive advice for the end users. Now, after they receive that advice, they have a choice to make. They can say, yes, I want to take that advice, or not. Now, when they click yes, that deployment, the installation, the actual work involved in optimizing the performance is automated. That's really the magic, or one of the best parts about Accelerate WordPress is the work is automated. Now, I do want to stress that today, when we say production ready, we've built this in phases. And right now, the biggest problem, or from our customers in the market that we've heard, the biggest opportunity here is with Apache web servers running cPanel. So we built it for that scenario first. And if you have right now today, you'd need a CloudLinux OS Pro or Solo license to access Accelerate WordPress. So now I'll go ahead and get into the demo just to give you a better view into what we've built and what's available today. So if you log into WHM and you're running and you have cPanel and you're running Apache, you will see Accelerate WordPress here. If for some reason you don't, please make sure that you've updated to the latest version of LVE Manager. So I'm going to go ahead and enable Accelerate WordPress. If you have PHP Xray auto tracing turned off, you may see a different screen here. It's highly, highly recommended to enable Xray auto tracing in order to use Accelerate WordPress. It's really the meat of the value of Accelerate WordPress. Without that data, SmartAdvice doesn't have a lot to go on. So it's important to enable Xray auto tracing. So if you don't have it enabled, you're going to get a different screen here that advises strongly that you enable that. So I'm going to go ahead and enable Accelerate WordPress. That's going to take roughly, I think it's 3 seconds per 100 users, if I'm not mistaken, but it's going to take a few seconds to turn that on. I'm going to show you here the cPanel interface on the same server This is the user's view, user perspective. As you can see, there is not an Accelerate WordPress plugin page here yet. After this loads, you'll see that it will be enabled for all users on the server. Give it one more second here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and refresh, and we'll see the Accelerate WordPress page appear here. I'm going to open it up. It's going to take a second to load. I'm also going to load the WordPress dashboard, because now we'll see some tools here for giving advice to the WordPress administrator. So this is also important for my next point. So after this loads, we're going to see some advice generated. I do want to stress that this advice here is preloaded. When you go, if you're to go to one of your servers, your OS Pro servers now, and enable Accelerate WordPress, it's going to take some time to start generating advice. It's going to be collecting data. This isn't all going to be instant, so I just want to make sure that that's clear. It takes a little bit of time to collect the data and start generating the advice, but obviously for purposes of this demo, that's been preloaded. So as you can see, there's advice available in cPanel for the cPanel user. There's advice available in WordPress for the WordPress administrator. And as well, for the server admin, they can click here on SmartAdvice and search for a domain or a username and find the advice available here as well. So from all three interfaces, you can view and enable the SmartAdvice. We're going to go ahead and do it from the cPanel UI. You can see all of these pages that are expected to be sped up. I'm going to go ahead and apply this advice. That's going to take a bit of time. What this is doing is it's installing the plugin in WordPress, and it's running a few more back-end processes to optimize the performance. It's going to take a little bit of time here, so I'm going to go ahead and show you some other screens. If I click on the details here in WordPress, you can see exactly what that's going to, I'm sorry, I'm not going to click on it, I'm going to hover over it. So you can see the details that the WordPress user would see when there is advice available. All right, so we're almost done here. It's just a few more seconds. I appreciate your patience. Okay, so now that that's installed and deployed, you can see that there's a rollback button here, so that if anyone finds a problem with the installation or it's created some issue, which shouldn't happen, we're working regularly to identify conflicts, and that's really on us to make sure that those things don't happen, especially because we have that data. But it is something that you can roll back from here. You can roll it back from the WordPress interface. I'll refresh this screen. You can see here that it's that there's a rollback button now, and the same thing in WHM. You will no longer see the turn on Accelerate WordPress link here on the right side, but you will see details, and from the details screen, you can roll it back just as you can from cPanel. I'm going to go ahead and load the Accelerate WordPress plugin. So yeah, so you see now that it's applied in cPanel, I'm sorry, in WHM. You can click details, and you can roll it back from there as well. Okay, so now inside of the WordPress admin, you'll see this UI. This is the Accelerate WordPress dashboard. Some of you may notice or may see some familiarities, or this may look familiar to you. This is a fork of WP Rocket, and we've made some adjustments and we've optimized it. But most importantly, it's automated. It's fully deployable through our utility and through Accelerate WordPress and SmartAdvice. I'm going to go ahead and set some default options here just to show the performance improvements. Go ahead and save that. That's going to take a second. And we'll turn on lazy loading. And that'll be saved here. I'm going to reset all of these for you here real quick. So this is a demo shop. It's an e-commerce store with WooCommerce and WordPress. It is dummy data. It's not it's not going to be as unique or as stressed as your typical real world site. Again, this is for demo purposes, but we have definitely received a lot of very positive feedback from our beta customers and anybody who's using this in production today. But I would like to show you, even on a dummy site with dummy data, how this looks. So Accelerate WordPress is enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and run this test for you and show you the load times here with Accelerate WordPress. And in a few seconds, in a few minutes, I'm going to show you the same thing with the plugin disabled. So you'll see here on the bottom right, can everybody see that on the bottom right where it says load time or load 1.6 seconds?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and open the same page. But I'm also going to show you a report from Lighthouse. So that's going to take a minute to load. And after this, I'm going to disable the plugin and show you what the page loads without Accelerate WordPress, so you can see the difference. Okay, so you see it's a 92 performance score with 1 second for the first contentful paint. It's very, very good performance, especially for a shop with many products in it. So now I'm going to go over here to plugins. And this is the quickest way to disable the Accelerate WordPress performance. It's happening now. I'm going to go ahead and deactivate that. Okay, now that that's deactivated, I'll go ahead and load that same page. And I'm going to load, again, the network details here. It's going to show you it's nearly 5 seconds. So it's quite a big jump in load time. And I'll go ahead and run the Lighthouse results. I'll run the same Lighthouse scan. And you'll see that there's a dramatic difference here in performance. And again, this is without active users. There's no live traffic on the website. We know that there's no major issues with it. And there's already this dramatic increase in performance with Accelerate WordPress. So I'll let this load here for a second. Yeah, as you can see, 60 versus 92 is quite a big drop in score. And you can see that the contentful paint is almost 3 times the time. And the speed index is quite a bit more. It's almost 4 times as much, and largest contentful paint. So all around, the numbers have dramatically worsened just by uninstalling Accelerate WordPress. So that's it for the demo. So I hope you enjoyed it. We will have an opportunity for questions and answers afterwards. So I do want to hear your questions, any questions that you have about enabling it and all of that. What's coming next that you didn't see in the demo is a performance analysis tool. So obviously those tools that I used, many site owners, WordPress administrators may not know how to use them or know how to interpret them. We're building a very simple to use performance analysis tool that's accessible inside of the WordPress admin UI, as well as cPanel, to make it easy to show the value to these users before and after. What is Accelerate WordPress doing for them? Why is it helpful even for their users? We're also automating, we're working on some automated configuration settings. So you may have seen that I set some of those configuration settings, the default settings. Not all of them are specifically helpful for every website. Many of them are, but it also depends on what other plugins they have installed, how if there's any other caching tools installed, that sort of thing. So we're going to detect that and automatically set the settings based on what's best for that specific website. So that's coming in some future updates as well. And another bulk of the work that we're working on is premium. So if you've been following along, I'm sure that you've noticed that we're planning to offer the premium version of Accelerate WordPress in production as well. It's currently in beta. Right now in beta, we have the Redis object cache feature. Now this is a lot more than just Redis object caching being installed and as a plugin. This is Redis instance automation. So this automates the deployment of Redis for individual users. So it's per user, which makes it much more secure. There's no shared database. There's no shared Redis instances. But I think more importantly is it's deployed only for the users who need it. So we have the data to analyze whether or not it's going to be helpful. And you can charge for when it's deployed. So when we know for sure it's going to help one of your customers, we're going to say, hey, your customer should install this. And you can automate the billing of that feature. So that means that the resources that are used to run that Redis instance are attributed to the specific users that should pay for it. And you can charge specifically to the users who are using that Redis instance. So that's extremely valuable, both for them and for you as a hosting provider. We're also going to be working on critical CSS generation and image optimization as premium features. Now, if you're not familiar with critical CSS generation, that is essentially the generation of the CSS declarations that are critical for painting the visible part of the website first. So we split up all the CSS of the website. We take all the stuff that's not necessary to show the site visitor the website to load the website, and we load that in the background while the critical CSS is loaded first. Now, obviously, from the perception of the site visitor, this is dramatically faster, and it's a good way to speed up a good portion of websites that are out there on the internet. We're also building a CDN service. So obviously, if you have distributed site visitors or your customers have distributed site visitors, CDN can often help, especially if your website is image or video heavy or content heavy. This is often going to be something that can be recommended or advised to your users that will dramatically help a good portion of websites out there. Also, if you're using WHMCS, we're building an integration for billing or charging your customers and creating plans to charge your customers the premium services of Accelerate WordPress. So we're making that easier for anyone who's using WHMCS. You might be asking yourself, well, I use Plesk or Direct Admin, or how does this integrate with Lightspeed? So we do have those questions in mind. We are definitely considering all of those, and you might even be asking yourself, is this a competitor to Lightspeed? And I want to say upfront and very clearly, no, it's not. We do not aim to compete with Lightspeed. We aim to complement Lightspeed. In fact, in many cases, if SmartAdvice analyzes a website and says, hey, this would actually be better on a Lightspeed web server with Lightspeed cache, or maybe it would be better on an Apache server with the object caching plugin, or a Lightspeed server with object caching. Any of those combinations could be potentially advice that is generated in the future for your site visitors. We specifically don't want to displace or offset Lightspeed web server or LS cache plugin. We want to complement it. We want to provide value to the market through our advice and through the data that we have access to. And as far as Plesk and Direct Admin go, we know these are very popular control panels, and they are on our roadmap, and we do plan to build integration with them in the future. And basically, this is just the system requirements. So if you are running cPanel and Apache today and you have CloudLinux OS Shared Pro or Solo, you can turn this on today and start using it. And like I mentioned earlier, if for some reason you don't see, if you meet these requirements and you don't see the Accelerate WordPress tab inside of CloudLinux Manager, just double check that you're on the latest version of LVE Manager, because you may need to perform an update. And that's it for my slides, and we'll go ahead and open it up for Q&A.
Yes, Dennis, we have quite a few questions. So I'm going to read them. And yeah, many of them are duplicating each other, so let's figure out. The first one, Lightspeed offer a solution. Is there any difference?
There's definitely a difference. The biggest difference is the automation, right? So even with Lightspeed, you will still have to manually enable elements or modules of it, right? The object caching isn't automated, CDN isn't automated, the image optimizations. You have to go through and perform those tasks for every website. And sometimes it's still a trial and error if it actually creates a benefit or doesn't do anything at all, or maybe it actually decreases the performance of the website. What we're doing is we're taking all of that guesswork out of it, and we're taking all the actual work out of it. We want to make this as painless and as seamless as possible.
Okay. Next one, is it work with direct admin panel?
Currently, no, but we are planning to build the support for direct admin. Absolutely.
And does it work without a control panel?
It does not. We are taking feedback from, we're trying to understand demand for that. So if that is something that you are interested in, I would love for you to send us an email or to go to our feature portal at features.cloudlinux.com and provide that feedback to us, because we are tracking demand, and the more of you that are interested in that, the higher priority that will become.
I'm curious what kind of advice a SmartAdvice can give other than install an optimization plugin.
So in today's version, the advice that is available is that advice. That's the first piece of advice that we have built. In the future, there are going to be advice specific to the settings of that plugin. There's going to be advice for enabling image optimization or the CDN service or things like that. So there's going to be quite a bit more advice in the future. And there's going to be premium advice, right? So if you want to offer the premium services, then your customers will get advice to upgrade to a new service that brings you revenue, and obviously will dramatically improve their performance.
Next one looks exactly like WP Rocket plugin. Is there a difference?
So the plugin itself is a fork of WP Rocket. There are minor differences. I don't know that it's worth describing the differences. It's essentially WP Rocket, the plugin, but it's automatically deployed, right? It's something that we can automate in its deployment and its advice, whether or not it conflicts with other things, and whether or not it's actually going to help before we advise the user to install it, and we can automate the deployment of it.
And one more question to this topic. We currently run WP Rocket. Should we turn that off?
So so that's one of the conflicting checks that Stanislav was talking about. If you're running WP Rocket, then your customers will not receive advice to install Accelerate WordPress, the free plugin, the current plugin that's available for free. So the answer is yes. If you would like to use Accelerate WordPress instead, you would need to disable WP Rocket.
One more question about if it will be available on Flask.
Yes, it will. That is in our plans to build this for Flask as well.
Does AWP replace WPR if it's installed? I think it's WP Rocket. So is it replace itself, or it should be Is there any advantages using this than Lightspeed plugin?
I think that's a repeat of before. I mean, really the
Yeah.
advantages are the automation and
As far as I know, Redis only will help on the WP backend, right?
No? It helps to speed up PHP, so this is true. It helps backend.
Oh.
It doesn't optimize front end like minifying JavaScript or something like this. This is a job for WP Rocket or AccelerateWP.
Thank you, Stas.
Thank you, Stas. Another question. Is the critical CSS generator will be included on the free AccelerateWP, and what the pricing of the CDN will be?
Okay, so the critical CSS generation tool does require us to maintain a server and some costs, and so that's one of the reasons it's not going to be included in the free version. And it is, the costs are associated with the users who need it generated. So we have not finalized pricing for either of those, the CDN or the critical CSS generation, but we do. We want to keep it very affordable. We want this to be something that a no-brainer question for a site owner who can see it, can try it, can use a trial of it and see the impact and the performance improvement. We want it to be as simple as I need this for my website, so I'm gonna enable it. So we are actively working with our beta participants and other users who are giving us feedback. If you do want to speak with us about where your price point, to where you believe your price point should be when you sell this, definitely reach out to us. We're all eager to hear your insights.
We have plans of using LSP Manager 6. Will there be any compatibility with it? I'm not sure actually if we are still supporting LSP Manager.
I don't believe we are.
Yes. With the object cache, critical CSS, image optimization, and CDN of the future functionality list, what does the plugin do now? Is it simply a WP Rocket replacement at this point in time?
So the plugin itself that you saw inside of WordPress is one of two plugins that exist today in the production-ready version, in the free version. There's a SmartAdvice plugin, which advises the WordPress admin what to do when there's advice available. And then there's the WP Rocket fork, which is the Accelerate WordPress plugin. Now, again, the fork is essentially WP Rocket with some changes. We're also applying some automated things to that. In the future, the settings are going to be, this configuration settings can be automated based on advice, and we can automatically input our CDN URL and service into that in the future as well. So the question of whether or not Accelerate WordPress, if that is just a WP Rocket replacement, the answer is not even close. The big value, like I mentioned, is the ability to analyze the data from the site, determine whether or not it's beneficial to install these plugins, and then automatically deploy them, which is also very important. It's automatic. It's all automated.
Thank you, Dennis. Another one. I can later. Sorry. How do we access the AccelerateWP free version to test? And do we need a specific CloudLinux license, or is it free to try?
In order to enable Accelerate WordPress, you do need CloudLinux OS Shared Pro or Solo, and it needs to be running Apache and cPanel.
And how do we access it to test? So,
yes, inside of CloudLinux Manager, you'll see a new tab called Accelerate WordPress pre-release. I can actually share that again here on my screen. So you'll see on this tab, there's a little toggle switch here inside of WHM that you can come and turn on. And if you don't see it and you fit all those criteria, just make sure, double check that you're updated to the latest version of LVE Manager.
Okay, and while you're still there, Dennis, another one question. Must AccelerateWP be enabled for all cPanel accounts, or can be enabled or can we enable it on an account by account basis?
So as of now, it must be enabled for all cPanel accounts. So in order to show this to any user, you need to show it to all users.
Thank you, Dennis.
Mhm.
Another one, is there any news or updates regards the price of object cache pricing, or still remains on $1.2 a month per user? Because the current pricing be harder to implement it as add-on for margin taxes and etc.
There has been no change in that pricing in terms of, you know, each customer that has the advice would need to pay for the object caching and the resources involved with it. That can be automated. You can bundle the object caching into premium WordPress plans. If you feel that pricing is going to make it difficult for you, or you have some insight that we need to hear, please reach out to me. If you don't have my contact information, just somehow reach out to us. I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants to give me feedback. Our product team is open to conversations at any time. I'm very interested in hearing your input and your insights regarding features and pricing and everything. So please reach out anytime.
I think maybe worth of creating a feature for premium AWP for the new technology of WP
Headless WordPress.
Yeah,
It's something that actually we've talked about. It would need some research for sure, but I like the idea of thinking of it.
thank you. Will AccelerateWP and Immunify 360 work well together?
We do not have any integrations currently built for that, but obviously if there are some malware related performance issues in the future, it's certainly possible that we could build integration. Any data source that we have that gives us insight into how to improve the performance, we're going to work on collecting it.
Another question, any plans to be able to configure the Redis to external server instead locally? I believe already talked about this.
We don't have plans to do that as of yet, but we are, like I mentioned about other things, we're taking feedback. So it's certainly a reasonable request. If it's something that we find is commonly requested or needed in the market, it's going to be prioritized. So certainly I'll take a note of this. And if there's any insight that you want to add directly to us or in our feature portal, please do so.
And it looks like it was the last question. If I missed something or you still have anything to add, feel free. We're here for a couple more minutes. Dennis, how do you like the questions? Are they something that you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really insightful to hear the suggestions, and I love it. I'm glad there's a lot of participation and interest. So it's always a good sign with a lot of questions. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for answering the question. Thank you for asking. And it looks like there is no more. And we all are really grateful for you to join us today. And as we said, we will send you the recording just in case, and we'll publish it soon. And see you soon. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Sergey and Stas.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Thanks.
Stay safe.